morning to you and welcome to Morning Express. My name is Trix Ingado. Today on the show, we take a look at what's making headlines on the local front and also tackle some of the latest political stories that are making headlines as we try to decipher the direction that the country is taking ahead of the 2022 general election. We are going to be joined by a special panel of analysts who are going to help us dig deeper into the stories, and there will be more as we go along. We shall also be taking a look at shared economies on your money. There is a special edition today where we focus on an Uber for tractors. It's going to be very interesting, so do stay tuned for that and much more. But let's begin with the stories that are making headlines. Electoral body IEBC is due to announce details of the company picked by the Commission to print and supply ballot papers and other key electoral materials, with early reports indicating a Greece company may have won the tender from a list of 12 shortlisted bidders. The company will be tasked with, among other duties, printing of the voters' registrar from the data supplied by the Commission to also incorporate details of newly registered voters. Mrimi Mwangi with that story.
In a tender notice dated the 14th of July this
year, how long is this story?
Electoral body IEBC, through an open international tender, invited interested companies to bid for the supply and delivery of key electoral material on a 3-year contract. The said items for delivery would include ballot papers, register of voters, statutory election declaration forms to be used at polling stations, as well as election and referendum result declaration forms for use at the constituency, county and national tallying centers, with a tender closing day being the 13th of August, 11 a.m. Kenyan time. 2 months later, and the process is edging close to completion, with some 10 foreign and 2 local companies cleared by the IEBC, with the Commission now due to announce the winner of the tender. Among the foreign-based companies are Go Inspire Solutions, Uniprint, Aerovate Security Print and Elector Supplies, Masar Printing and Publishing, United Printing and Publishing, Algurea, that won a similar tender for the 2017 polls, Toll Security, Inform Lycos, Sasashai Business Firms, and Kwangnisa Company Limited. The 2 local cleared companies are Elams Products Limited and Africa Infrastructure Development Company. IEBC is yet to officially announce the winning company. Sources at the Commission now intimating to KTN News that Greece-based Inform Lycos company could be the lucky firm. In its online profile, Inform Lycos prides itself as a leading provider of security documents and services in information management with an experience of over 120 years. Its nearest track record in the African market, according to the profile, being the supply of 160 million ballot papers to Nigeria, reportedly within 30 days during the country's 2019 elections. The IEBC is still scouting for a company to supply and deliver the Kenya Integrated Electronic Management System (KIEMS) for the 2022 polls, after the Public Procurement Review Board cancelled an earlier tender in September this year. Meanwhile, some 491,968 new voters have been registered in the ongoing exercise, a figure the Commission says represents 15.4% achievement. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News.
And in politics, ODM leader Raila Odinga has pledged to ensure the reopening of the Somalia Miraa market, besides securing other foreign markets in DRC, Congo and Tanzania, should he be voted to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta next year. Odinga, while on his Azimio la Umoja tour of Mount Kenya East, has also hinted at resurrecting the one man, one shilling mantra that was drowned in the BBI that was halted by the courts. Local leaders led by Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi vouching for Odinga's presidency, saying he is best placed to address their issues. Alan Ochanda reports.
The ODM boss continues with his efforts to scale the mountain to soften the souls of persons who have traditionally voted against him. Monday, he pitched tent in Meru County, traversing the Miraa growing region, and top of his agenda was the emotive and ever-shrinking Miraa market locally and internationally. Odinga promising to capitalize on his regional friends to turn the tables and change the region's fortunes by getting the green gold's foreign markets.
Nitahakikisha kwamba Somalia inafungua mpaka yake na Miraa inaenda huko. Mimi ni rafiki sana wa rais wa Democratic Republic of Congo, Rais Tshisekedi. Nitaongea na yeye akubali Miraa yetu ingie kwenye soko ya DRC na vile vile majirani wetu hapa chini Tanzania. Nitaongea na mama.
Mungetaka piganie Miraa, mungetaka baba piganie Miraa, wala nataka baba piganie Miraa, ino mikono tuone.
Na mimi nasema kwa sababu mnatupokea vizuri, kuanzia leo ile Miraa inaingia Mombasa hailipishi ushuru tena.
Odinga tipping the youth to be on the forefront in resuscitating the economy, defending his promise to set aside monthly stipends of 6,000 shillings for humble families dubbed Social Welfare Society and Social Protection Fund against attacks from his political nemesis, saying it is doable provided pilferage loopholes are sealed.
Wengine wale wapinzani wangu wanasema hiyo ni porojo tu, hiyo haiwezekani, hiyo ni siasa. Hapana, hiyo ni ahadi. Hiyo itagharimu serikali shilingi bilioni 150. Lakini kila mwaka tunapoteza pesa kwa ufisadi shilingi milioni 6,000. Nitaziba mianya ile ya ufisadi pale ambao wanarogota naye pesa. Hiyo pesa nitatumia kwa wananchi.
The former Prime Minister further reiterating his intentions to actualize some of the proposals that were entrenched in the BBI, key of them the 1 man 1 shilling revenue sharing formula. Leaders accompanying him vowing to push for his candidacy through the mountain. The ODM leader will on Tuesday tour Meru Town, Nkubu and Chuka Town in Tharaka Nithi County.
Basi safari ya kwenda Kanani imefika na baba anatuongoza kwenda huko. Sawa sawa.
Tumemleta baba. Tumemleta baba. Lada mkorada. Nionyesheni rada na baba.
Na tunamwambia aende awe rais wa 5. This is our Mandela moment.
As the ODM boss Raila Odinga scales the mountain from the leeward side, the bait he's dangling to the residents of the mountain is to streamline the Miraa market, besides actualizing the mantra of 1 man 1 shilling. Alan Ochanda, KTN News in Meru County.
Meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto is accusing his competitors of allegedly circulating fake lists of United Democratic Alliance interim officials with a view of discrediting the party. Addressing over 700 aspirants eyeing UDA tickets at the coast, the DP said the party will penalize those that will engage in acts of violence as it gears towards party nominations. Tobias Chanji with more.
7. Nilifanya campaign ya ule mtu ya kitendawili. Si nilimsaidia bwana kitendawili mpaka akakuwa prime minister. Si mimi nilikuwa deputy party leader ya ODM. Si nasukuma bwana kitendawili mpaka akakuwa prime minister. Si mnajua juzi nimesaidia rafiki yangu Uhuru Kenyatta mpaka amekuwa rais wa Kenya. Sasa safari hii mimi nimesema nitasaidia hawa ambao hawana kazi mpaka wapate kazi. Nitasaidia wenye biashara ndogo mpaka biashara yao iinuke. Na nitasaidia wakulima mpaka tupate chakula ya kutosha. Kwani iko makosa nikisaidia hawa watu wadogo? Kuna mahali ilikuwa imeandikwa mimi nitakuwa nasaidia wakubwa peke yao? Watu wawache mchezo nani? Hapana.
Siasa ya Kenya haitakuwa ya viongozi na vyeo na mamlaka. Siasa ya Kenya safari hii itakuwa mambo ya mwananchi, ajira ya watoto wetu, biashara ya wafanyabiashara wadogo na kilimo ya watu wa kawaida.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to formally introduce his handshake principal Raila Odinga to his Mount Kenya background on Wednesday during the National Mashujaa Day celebrations in Kirinyaga County. Unlike other national events that he has been skipping at times, Deputy President William Ruto has also confirmed attending the event, laying a literal battle royale for the grip on Mount Kenya support ahead of the 2022 general election. Will President use the event to declare his preferred successor? Duncan Haemba interrogates.
They announced their surprise political ceasefire deal on the steps of Harambee House in March 2018. Part of the promise to the nation was that both handshake principals would jointly tour the country in an effort to preach cohesion after the bitter fallout during the 2017 general election. True to their promise, the two, President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, have toured several parts of the country together, including Odinga's Lake Region turf on numerous occasions. However, one region has remained elusive or politically slippery, the Mount Kenya region. President Kenyatta appears to have tactically avoided taking Odinga to the mountain, but it now seems not anymore. On Wednesday, the two will be in Kirinyaga County for the Mashujaa Day celebrations, coming days after Odinga has solely been traversing the mountain region, spearheading his Azimio la Umoja drive after receiving backing from Mount Kenya Foundation business tycoons that appear ready and willing to bankroll his fifth stab at the presidency. During the national events, President Uhuru Kenyatta has always been inviting his political nemesis turned bosom buddy Raila Odinga to address the nation, rekindling fond memories of their two late fathers, Jomo and Jaramogi, during the independence. This Wednesday, it will be all eyes and ears on the president on how he will introduce his handshake partner to his Mount Kenya supporters and the message Odinga will deliver as well. Will Wednesday be Odinga's crowning moment by the president, or will he be left high and dry on the mountain? Also in the mix will be Deputy President William Ruto, who has been cherry-picking presidential events to attend. His office has confirmed he will be in Kirinyaga in what some quarters interpret as a strategic move to ring-fence his support base that Odinga seems keen to conquer or yank off. For DP Ruto, the other headache could be the entry of Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru into his camp that seems to have rattled area woman representative Wangui Ngirishi, who might be forced to seek shelter elsewhere should the governor settle in. President Kenyatta has already arrived at the Sagana State Lodge in Nyeri County as he prepares to lead the nation in marking Mashujaa Day celebrations. Duncan Haemba, KTN News.
All right, now, meanwhile, the 7th Devolution Conference will now take place next month. This follows a decline by the coronavirus positivity rate in the country. This was announced today, or rather yesterday, by the Council of Governors, which postponed the earlier planned conference due to the high numbers of COVID-19 infections at the time. And as our reporter, Grace Nganga, reports, county bosses have announced they will reject proposals by the Commission on Revenue Allocation that is recommending a non-increment of the county equitable share.
For the 7th Devolution Conference, including mass vaccination drive, was all set for August 2021 until this.
Today I direct that all forms of political gathering be and are hereby prohibited for a period of 30 days.
Then the much-anticipated event scheduled for Makueni County was cancelled due to the surge of the coronavirus pandemic. 3 months after the postponement, Makueni County will host the conference from 23rd to the 26th next month in strict compliance of the Ministry of Health COVID-19 guidelines.
That the steering committee of the 7th Annual Devolution Conference held a consultative meeting on 15th October 2021 and agreed that the conference be held. We urge delegates to take note of the new dates and prepare to participate in the upcoming conference.
The Council of Governors Chair and Embu Governor Martin Wambora today said the decision was informed by the drop in the COVID-19 infections in the country.
The positivity rate of COVID-19 has gone down, and we are now confident with the vaccination which are taking place, that by the time of the conference on 23rd of next month, the levels will be below 2%.
According to him, with the end of the first era of devolution, there is need to take stock of the journey and pave way for the second generation of county governments. Also speaking at their Delta offices in Nairobi, the Council of Governors has rejected a proposal by the Commission on Revenue Allocation, CRA, to peg county allocation at 370 billion shilling in the next financial year.
We reject in totality the proposal by CRA that recommends a non-increment of the county equitable share, which is 370 billion. To safeguard devolution and to ensure optimal implementation of the devolved functions by the county government, the Council of Governors proposes additional funding of Kenya shillings 381.45 billion.
CRA had suggested that the county equitable share of revenue be stagnated due to the current tough times, but the governors maintain that there is need of an additional 380 billion shillings.
The economy is now recovering. Mind you, we are talking about 2022-2023 financial year, which commences in July next year. Already we can see very good signs of recovery even in the tourism industry.
Currently, the county equitable share stands at 370 billion Kenyan shillings. Grace Nganga, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, now it's time for press review. We take a look at what's making headlines on the local dailies. The front page of the Standard is talking about Mount Kenya. It tells us Uhuru to Mount Kenya. Wait for my signal. President reignites a debate on succession politics and urges restless mountain to wait for his signal, even as top aspirants dangle goodies in their scramble for a piece of the vote-rich region. It also tells us about the Deputy President. Ruto warns UDA aspirants against chaotic campaigns, and also talks about EPZ to hire 7,400 new employees as exports increase in the country. Also, the Daily Nation is focusing on politics this morning. They say on a warpath, head of state cannot sack his deputy, but he could use other legal means to remove him. And it tells us the gloves are off a day after the Deputy President William Ruto publicly complained that he had been branded a thief despite having supported his boss to win. President Kenyatta vowed to kick out corrupt leaders from his government before the end of his term in office next year. He has nothing to lose. And the Business Daily this morning is telling us that the World Bank detains 14 billion loan for a COVID-19 vaccine, while Kenya targets a vaccination of 10 million people by December. Treasury tells House that the lender is yet to release cash needed for that exercise. There's so much that is going on in the country, and with me to discuss these stories and more are Ken Omondi, who's a lawyer. We have Ndegwa Njiru, who's a lawyer and political analyst. And we also have with me here in studio Peter Nabulimbo, Member of Parliament, Matungu constituency. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. So we shall start off with the Standard this morning. It's all about the mountain, and we're being told that, of course, the president is focusing on the upcoming polls, and he has made a call to the mountain to wait for his signal. We also have Raila push for top seats gets boost in Meru. Of course, we heard that story by Alan Wachanda telling us that he's promising to meet some of the needs of the locals, particularly when it comes to the Miraa markets that are not what they used to be. And of course, this is something that has affected local business negatively. And in this economy, a little goes a long way. Even that promise of reopening the markets and the promise of new markets in places such as the Congo. Mheshimiwa, what do you make of the situation, the restlessness of the mountain, as has been put by the Standard, and the call by the president that they should wait for his signal?
Thank you, Trix.
Yes.
The mountain is attracting a lot of attention because of the huge numbers. They have a big voting bloc.
Yes.
And obviously it attracts any contender to win that big voting bloc.
Right.
And the reason why maybe there is that kind of situation is because they, for the first time after a long time, they do not have a straight candidate from the community who will be voted for. So this time round, they have now to vote for a candidate from another community, as it is now.
Yes.
And therefore, the votes are up for grabs.
Yeah.
And therefore, you can see candidates putting all sorts of dangling all sorts of carrot for the mountain.
Do you think the president is taking too long to give this so-called signal?
No, the president is not taking too long. We still have a lot of time to the elections.
Okay.
We have almost a whole year to come. And in politics, that's a long time. And the president is also being cautious looking at how the ground is responding to different candidates. The president, I think the president doesn't want to make a decision that will have a backlash from his own backyard. So he's being careful looking at, now, if I decide on a certain candidate, how will the people react? How will be my traditional support base react to the decision that I have made about the candidate, presidential candidate? And in any case, actually the president is not under any pressure to name someone a successor. He can as well decide not to name anyone and let the people decide
for themselves.
Who to vote for. Yes.
And as the Daily Nation is telling us, he really has nothing to lose.
Of course.
Ken Omondi is a lawyer. He is in studio with us this morning. Ken, what do you make of the expectation of the president to actually name a candidate or endorse a politician for this top seat in the upcoming Mashujaa Day celebration? Is it in order that he would do that? Would that even make any political sense, given that the nature of this event would be nationalistic as opposed to political?
Thank you. I think on the side of the president, he has to look at this in terms of his legacy. We know that President Uhuru Kenyatta, coming into government in 2013 as president, came with numerous promises. In fact, quite a substantial are yet to be achieved as it stands. So that I want to believe that the president would want to see a leader that he is sure would, as it were, complete his legacy. We are aware of the major infrastructure projects that the Uhuru Kenyatta regime has put in place, so that it would only be fair that the next president should be that sort of a person that will, as it were, ensure the completion of the same. Of course, there is also the aspect of, rather the silent practice that has ordinarily been in this country, that there is a sense in which successive, or rather presidents would want to ensure that upon retirement or at the end of their tenure, the person that comes in would be one that would, in addition to ensuring that smooth succession, would not, as it were, rock the boat. So that then we see a scenario where I think the president and, as it were, his team would really want to be keen and ensure that, that perception subsists even come 2022. And of course, finally, there is also the aspect, and it cannot be underestimated, the question of the Mount Kenya bloc that has produced 3 presidents in the Republic. Secondly, who have got that economic might insofar as the economy of Kenya is concerned, and who therefore would also want to see that in the coming succession, the gains which, as it were initiated by former President Mwai Kibaki, of course, which were buttressed by President Uhuru Kenyatta, that those gains are sustained and perhaps even made better going forward. So that looked at from that perspective, then we see a president who in one way or another would be keen to ensure that, in as much as the election of our president, as it were, is a democratic process and which ought to be led in the free hands of the people, but to the extent that he is capable, would really want to see that things move along the right direction.
All right. Now, I'd like to get the opinion of Ndegwa Njiru, who is a lawyer and political analyst. The mountain is waiting for that signal from the president. Do you think that this is going to be made, this signal is going to be given during the Mashujaa celebrations? And is the president taking too long to throw his weight behind a particular candidate? If you're looking at his legacy issue, then the candidate ideally would be someone who would carry on some of the things that the president started during his tenure. What do you think about the weight of the Mount Kenya region is forced to make?
Well, thank you. To me, I think the signal has been progressively given over a given period of time. The president has been quite tactical in giving this signal. And the red lights started showing long time ago. And the signal is there with us. We are only awaiting the confirmation of the same. If you heard what the president said yesterday when he was at Mwea, he was addressing issues of development, saying, guys, since Kenya became independent, Mwea has never had any tarmac roads. And then he was asking them to confirm whether now they have them. He was telling them, you guys in Mwea, I say the government stores will never buy rice from anywhere else other than from you people. And there was a resounding affirmation from the crowd saying, yes, Mr. President, you have come to our aid. And then he said, then, if this is what I've been able to do, how then would you accept the lies that have been propagated by the other group? And more so, the president only shied away from mentioning the current group that the government has not delivered. So to me, what we are waiting for the president to do is probably to give a verbal signal, which I don't see it coming. I think people have to construe and construct the signal from the prevailing circumstances and the future unfolding circumstances. Otherwise, the president, as it is now, the signal will not indicate towards the side of William Ruto. It might indicate towards another person or another leader, but clearly, as it can be seen, it will not indicate towards the benefit of William Ruto, because William Ruto has been one of those people sabotaging the running of government, and therefore the president is keen to see that there is perpetuity and continuity with what he has been doing. And that is what the people are looking for. And then when you see where this perpetuity and continuity can arise from or accrue from, then we all know, and you can see those individuals attempting to scale the mountain. They are going up the mountain. When they go up the mountain, you can see the kind of the reception they are having. You can see the leaders who are behind them. You can see the leaders who are actually ushering them and ushering them into the mountain. And then you'll see where the signal is. For example, yesterday, when Raila Odinga was in Meru, someone like C.S. Munya was there. Someone like Beatrice Elachi was there. and so many other people who are serving in current President Kenyatta's government, then the question then would be, could the signal be indicating towards those directions? We are yet to see, but to me, I think we already have a signal. We don't have to wait for the Malema's proclamation that Mama shows the signal. The president has already indicated the signal.
Right.
And you see, in Mount Kenya region, Wazees don't speak loudly. They speak by actions. Wazees, we normally say when a mzee is seated on a seat like this one I'm seated on, he normally sees far than a young boy who is climbing on top of a tree. True. And so we can see where the president is seated. He can see far than those other boys who are yapping in Mount Kenya region. I don't want to mention their names as not worth in this program.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. When it happens, the cat won't be out of the bag suddenly. It's been happening over time, so it won't be a surprise to anyone who's been paying attention. Okay, now let's shift gears. We'll circle back to politics, but to the IEBC issue. The IEBC is due to announce details of the company picked by the Commission to print and supply ballot papers. Now, this is something that is very crucial, given the quite scandalous history that we've had with these companies that have won the tenders, and of course this would be key, but a rumor has it, or rather indicators point towards a Greece company. Peter Nabulindo is a Matungu Member of Parliament. He's with us here in studio. Could you tell us what it means to get a credible, a good company to handle this very important responsibility come 2022?
Thank you very much. The elections in Kenya, the problem of our electoral process in Kenya has been the confidence of Kenyans on IEBC. And therefore, it's very important that as IEBC goes about this important activity, to make everything transparent, to make sure that the process is transparent so that Kenyans can have that confidence. The confidence with Kenyans about IEBC has eroded over time. Yes. And there is need to restore confidence in IEBC so that we avoid this problem after the elections. All the problems that come, the post-election violence, is because of lack of confidence by Kenyans over IEBC. Right. And therefore, it's very, very crucial and very, very important that this process has to be above board. And this process has to be transparent, or to be seen to be transparent, so that Kenyans can start building back that confidence with the IEBC. Kenyans have never had a problem with the politicians or the other voters or the communities. The problem has been the perception that IEBC has not been fair to their candidate or to the candidates that actually go for elections. And therefore, in my opinion, the process is going on well. Yes. And if they go on with this transparency, whereby all Kenyans know which company is doing this and the profile of the company or the organization that will be handling such kind of activity, it's very important to Kenyans that a credible company, a credible process should lead to a credible election. Absolutely. In this country.
And it's only right that voters only have to worry about who they're going to vote for, as opposed to whether their vote will count in the first place. Thank you very much. Yes. Ken Omondi, what's your opinion on this?
Mheshimiwa said, I think I would also support that what Kenyans basically need to see is transparency in respect of how the IEBC conducts and awards these particular tenders. Yeah. We want to honestly believe that subsequently we want to be having, parties who will not have won the tender move to the procurement administration board for review, wars that would tend to move close to the election date and delay the entire process. And so that this would, in the end of the day, as it were, bring in the crucial aspect of confidence that Kenyans really need to have with the IEBC. Of course, I'm aware that if I look at perhaps the last election and more so the Supreme Court decision, of course the issue was not so much in respect to the ballot papers. I mean, there was no complaint insofar as the ballot papers were concerned. The casting of the ballots were done properly. There was, of course, an issue insofar as the electronic transmission of the votes or the ballots was concerned. I'm aware that as it stands, there is the issue of the KIEMS kit for which the tender was, the award was cancelled, and I'm to believe for good measure, of course, one based on the advisory from the court and as well as the reconstituted IEBC, so that I want to believe that, and I would like to ask the IEBC that let them ensure that these processes are done in a manner that are above board. They ought to be done in a manner that is transparent, so that we as Kenyans must not go through another election again where the party that loses, as it were, will be, or rather will have this feeling that there's a sense in which some mischief was played. IEBC must play the role of a referee, and the referee must be transparent throughout the course. That is really key to us. We must not go through what we went through in 2017 again. The ball falls squarely on the foot of the IEBC.
Right, absolutely. Mr. Ndegwa is a lawyer and political analyst. I'd like your opinion on this one. Do you think enough focus then is being given to this situation? Because fine, the economy is a big issue. Kenyans want better when it comes to government deliveries, when it comes to their welfare. But at the same time, some of the bigger problems that we are faced sometimes stem from the system or the electoral system that is there. And do you feel like enough emphasis was put in terms of reform and just making sure that they restore the confidence that Kenyans have, the voters have in the IEBC?
Well, to me, I've already had started having encounters with the IEBC, and most importantly, the new team that has come in. Permit me to give you an example with what should have happened in Kiagu Ward in Meru. We all forgot that on 14th of this month, there was supposed to be a by-election in Kiagu Ward to replace an MCA who passed on. But the election was messed up by the same IEBC because of giving ridiculous and unfounded decisions that found itself in court being challenged. So, in fact, when we were before that particular committee, I questioned the competence of that committee. Remember, this is a committee that this is a commission that had just been sworn in, and 1 week down the line, they now have the wisdom of resolving all the political disputes and the electoral disputes, without even having to address themselves to the provisions of the law. And now, this is a situation that we are now importing, or rather, we are exporting to the general election. So, to me, we need to capacity build these, mostly importantly, the commissioners. The commissioners, when they go to this commission, they are normally blank. But they find themselves faced with a situation whereby they have to conduct a credible, fair, and free elections. Yet they have no capacity. Why am I saying they have no capacity? Because they don't even have time as a factor for building this resource. They have not had time to do comparative studies with other jurisdictions, what happens during an election. So we are actually having an election that will be conducted by novice. People who are prostitutes, people who have no idea of how an election should have been performed, because they have not done any comparative studies, case studies in other comparative jurisdictions. The other thing is, our election needs to be scrutinized in a manner to make it a simple election. Why should one Kenyan spend an approximate of 2,000 or 2,500 just to go and cast a vote, and you are told that you have to spend approximately about 5 minutes or 10 minutes in a polling station. So in 10 minutes, you're spending 2,500 shillings for a poll. I think we need to scrutinize our laws and the legal regimes that is guiding the elections. We need to prepare the commission. For example, the other thing is, this is a commission that is being led by people who already lost confidence, lost confidence with following the Supreme Court ruling. My opinion should be, if a commission has overseen an election that has ended up being invalidated by the Supreme Court, it means that there was a problem of competence. It means there was a problem of the manner in which they conducted that particular election. And then the question would then be whether, when the Supreme Court has impugned that election, does that impugning of that particular election also reflect to the competence of that commission? And if yes, then can we then say that this is a commission that is ready, able, and willing to pursue a further elections, be it a rerun or be it a further election? Or should we have a system whereby the law presupposes that if your election is disqualified by the Supreme Court for glaring reasons as they were, then your competence is impeached, and then you stand also impeached. I think we need to scrutinize the process so that we can give confidence to the people. The question then would be, how would this commission, that I find to be novice, conduct this election? They have not even told us the preparation they have made. They are only grappling with issues of saying we don't have enough finances. Even the finances that they have, they are not able to mobilize the voters' registration. Can you imagine? They are saying we need 14 billion more. But what has the Electoral done? We are only seeing that they have registered about 200,000 registered voters, or approximately 5,000 registered voters. So even with the Electoral allocation they have done basically nothing. So, well, I am not confident with it.
It boils up down to, for every Kenyan, confidence in the IEBC. And like I said earlier on, perhaps it's more about worrying about who you're voting for and not having to worry about whether your vote will count at the end of the day. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we shall have more for you here on Morning Express. Do stay tuned.
This is KTN News.
Express visawasawa. Sawa na Sawa Liquid Hand Wash inapatikana katika variant 3: original, strawberry na aloe vera. Sawa Liquid Hand Wash yenye harufu ya kuvutia, uhakikisha mikono yako inabaki kuwa laini. Bidhaa bora kutoka Pwani Oil Products Limited.
Credo, and there's absolutely no way anything inaingiana. If you run out of Credo and that Fuliza loan can't let you access your airtime, or you've looked everywhere for a Credo vendor but ako nowhere to be seen. Haina was, courtesy of Standard Group. You can now get airtime easily and conveniently by dialing *207#. Dial now and get airtime straight to your phone. No hassle, no fuss.
Express visawasawa. Sawa na Sawa Liquid Hand Wash inapatikana katika variant 3: original, strawberry na aloe vera. Sawa Liquid Hand Wash yenye harufu ya kuvutia, uhakikisha mikono yako inabaki kuwa laini. Bidhaa bora kutoka Pwani Oil Products Limited.
The law mandates the Independent Elections and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) to put in place guidelines to cap election spending by both candidates and political parties, and therefore suspending or failing to enforce provisions of Article 88(4) Roman 1 of the Constitution amounts to the violation of the Constitution.
Until you have been born a thief, even if you try to do what, you still see.
Nilikuwa na deni yake ya 25,000. Akakuja huku kwangu, akanidanganya kwamba naitwa huko polisi. Mimi nikatoka, nikaingia kwa gari yake, akafunga milango. Alipofunga milango, akatoa kisu.
People are held in such contempt like you are the spawn of the devil. It is like you are children of a lesser God.
I get out and that's when I find people running, smoke all over. And what I won't forget is when I stepped out, I just saw body parts outside our.
Politics shapes our way of life, one way or another.
A permanent injunction be and is hereby issued restraining the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission from undertaking any processes required under Article 257(4) and 5 in respect of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020.
A day in politics is way too long, hence politics is a marathon.
Sitaki wafuasi, nataka washirika.
Kabla hatujabadilisha katiba, wacha tubadilishe uchumi kwanza.
Siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya.
With everything and all cards in play, who has what it takes to be bold and meticulous?
This is a time for Parliament to act as Parliament, not as the two chambers.
Here on Checkpoint, we break it down for you and let you make that all-important call for our beloved Kenya.
Vile wananchi wanasema, hiyo ndio njia tutafuata, si ndio?
Dau la elimu ni kipindi chako cha kila Jumapili katika kituo cha KTN News saa 11 jioni hadi saa 12, nami Franco Tieno ninapokuwa na jopo langu tunapochambua kwa kina masuala kuhusiana na mipangilio ya elimu kwa ujumla kuanzia chekechea hadi viwango vya juu vyuoni.
Tunasomesha walimu, wanafunzi na pia wazazi.
Tulipoteza muda mrefu kutokana na hili janga la corona.
Wachambuzi wakiwa ni wale ambao walikita kambi katika masuala ya ualimu na elimu.
CBC imejaribu sana ku make sure hakuna mtoto yoyote atawachwa nyuma.
Tunaweza kuwa tunaanza kusema ati serikali haijafanya, lakini kile tuko nacho tushukuru Mungu. Kile tunatakiwa kufanya ni tutie bidii, tuiweke iwe nzuri kushinda vile iko.
This is Morning Express. I'm Jesse Gorgeous.
Kenya, one of the most productive agricultural countries in the world. And it can only get better because there still exists opportunity in an already bountiful sector. However, farming still remains a technical area for many of us who would like to cash in. From the weather patterns, the soil profile, the ideal fertilizer, to the ideal crop, it can get very complicated. Fortunately, Standard Group has partnered with Acre Africa to provide farmers with an avenue to match crops with the right location. The SMS channel is an on-the-go information hub that gives you information on maize, sorghum, potatoes, and green grams. This platform uses 20 years of vast climate and crop yields information, history and rainfall patterns, amount of rainfall needed to support the crop, and a list of 5 ideal counties for your desired crop. All you have to do is send crop of interest to 23353 and you'll be well on your way to being the next big farmer. For example, send sorghum to 23353 to get a list of best locations for sorghum farming. This is KTN News.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express. Before the break, we took a look at some of the issues surrounding the Mount Kenya vote, and of course, now we have talked. And then we moved to the IEBC, and we had the question of credibility. Have the issues that plagued the previous election been addressed, or are we going to have the same scenario? And will voters have to be worrying about whether the votes count? Now, with me here in studio this morning is Peter Nabulindo, who is the Member of Parliament for Matungu constituency. We also have Ndegwanjiru, a lawyer and political analyst, as well as Ken Amondi, who is a lawyer. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us today, bright and early. Now, still on the IEBC, there's the issue of the IEBC's credibility on one hand, and on the other hand, there's the issue of voter apathy. They have been having this drive, but persistent voter apathy is ongoing, and it's plaguing the mass voter registration that is happening right now. Perhaps they should have done things differently before they engaged in this. I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa.
Yes. Voter apathy is a situation that is worrying everybody in this country. Yes. And is worrying all leaders, all politicians. And actually it should also worry the media, because voter apathy might be meaning is a message from Kenyans to the leaders that maybe we don't have confidence in this process, or this process is not giving us the yields that we actually wanted. And so many youth who we expect actually to be very active in politics by taking the voters card to elect leaders that they choose, they might decide that this process is not helping us, so let it be. And that's a situation that we must address urgently, and it has to change immediately. But we continue with the public awareness, telling the young people or those who have never received the voters card to go ahead and register. Yes. We are not going to give up. We are going to keep on telling them, keep on insisting that it's a very important process to all Kenyans, and especially to young people, for them to be able to choose the leaders they want. And maybe let us not make the conclusion right now, because Kenyans, we have a habit of doing things the last minute. Are we seeing a situation whereby, as Kenyans, we are waiting for the last 2 days, then we are going to see long queues and this clerical call to IEBC to add more days.
Doesn't it point to the fact that then Kenyans are still not taking it seriously? Because if something really, really meant a lot to you, you would even have done it already. So still, even if Kenyans are waiting till last minute when they decide, well, let me just do this, it still passes the message that they are not very confident, is it? Doesn't it?
It is the same message. Kenyans are not very confident about this process, and they are not taking it seriously, which is actually baffling. They are supposed to take it seriously, because if you don't choose your leader, someone else is going to choose for you, and you will complain that the leader is not good, the leader is not the one you wanted. But the leader you wanted, you did not take part in choosing that leader. Right. And as I said, the awareness, maybe next time we should do civic education and public awareness about the importance of voter registration as early as 6 months before we start this mass voter registration, and maybe explain to the wananchi why it's important to participate in the electoral process of this country. And as I said, We are waiting for the last minute. We shall see long queues, and we shall appeal to IEBC to give us some more time. And whatever happens, I am still asking the young Kenyans, especially the youth, to take up the mantle and register as voters so that they can be able to choose the leaders that they want.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Njiru, you mentioned something about perhaps there need to be civic education, some sort of communication, mass communication to the people so that they can boost the confidence in the IEBC. What do you make of the situation where Kenyans just couldn't be bothered to get out there and get themselves registered?
Well, I think the IEBC again is not geared towards making sure that every person who has attained the age of majority casts his vote. For example, how many advertisements and campaigns have they launched in the media like this, the media houses like this one? They are up in arms saying they don't have the finances, but they are not even utilizing the real they have to the best of their ability to make sure that people turn out. The other thing is our people might be getting fatigued of having to keep on voting and appearing to fight the same results. In the sense that if you look at most of the counties, and I won't speak about the counties because the counties are not distinct, but when you look at the national government, there is a bit of distinction in terms of service delivery and infrastructure delivery. People in the counties are wondering, why should we continue voting? For example, why should a person in Turkana who is eating wild fruits go register for a vote to vote a caliber of Governor Nanok? Why do I mention Governor Nanok? I mention him specifically because from the national government, he has received an allocation of over 120 billion for the last 10 years. Yet his people are still eating wild fruits. Why should a person of that nature go to vote? Why should a person in Mandera, in Wajir, in Marsabit, in Garissa, in Pokot, in Samburu vote when his camel, when his sheep, when his goats are dying, yet those counties receive a significant amount of the exchequer allocations in terms of national allocations, grants, and the equalization funds. So they're asking themselves, what is more important? To save my life, to save my cattle, or to go and register as a voter just to receive msaada? You know, we have to do a serious paradigm shift in this country. And we cannot do this paradigm shift when we have people behaving like the guys have had wash people, and then these are the guys that you want to bestow the responsibility of leadership in this country. You might want to ask yourself, why should people vote a county government that is not transparent, that is not accountable, that is not responsive to the people's plight? So to me, those are some of the reasons that is causing this fatigue. But if you realize that IEBC has been instrumental in making sure that we get bad leadership, that we get bad leaders. For example, if you look at the leadership and integrity declarations and the ones that IEBC approves, you end up finding that in real sense, these guys were not supposed to be approved. These guys were not supposed to be vetted. The vetting should not have actually succeeded. So when we do the same thing the same way, we're getting the same results, we must have fatigue. And most of this fatigue has been attributed to the IEBC because they have made sure that they calculatively and strategically make sure that we always get bad leadership. And you can see, they're not even investing, they are not currently investing for the future elections to ensure that we have proper leaders. They have not given us a platform of vetting these people, the mechanism, the criteria. They're not telling us whether a person who has actually been charged with an offense can actually vote for an election. Because what will happen is, we saw guys who are accused of NYS in 2016 becoming governors. What will make people who have been accused of Kimorel and Aurel not become a governor? What will make people who have been accused of plundering the county government of Nyeri, like the likes of Kinagashagwa, not become leaders again? What are they doing? These guys are setting us up for failure.
All right. Now, I'd like Ken to come in on it and be a bit solution-oriented. We've gotten to the core of the problems with the IEBC right now. Is it too late to change the system, or rather to change the strategy that they have when it comes to getting people out, as someone